This year's Rolex 24 at Daytona is now complete, and the overall winners have now been crowned. During the event, we witnessed back-to-back victories for Porsche Penske Motorsport, as the 963 continues to show why it is the car to beat in 2025. But how exactly did Porsche take victory at this iconic Floridian raceway? Well, that's exactly what I'll talk about in this video, as this is a breakdown on how Porsche Penske won again at Daytona in 2025. Heading into this IMSA event, Porsche were already the favorite to win, as they had taken victory the year before. Back in 2024, Felipe Nasr in the number 7 Porsche brilliantly held off Tom Blomqvist in the number 31 Cadillac to cross the line first to allow Porsche to win their 19th overall victory at Daytona, with Nasr, Campbell, Cameron, and Newgarden behind the wheel of that number 7 car. And 1 year later in 2025, Porsche Penske Motorsport returned with an updated driver lineup to defend the winner's crown at Daytona, but they would definitely have tough competition during the event. For the beginning of this classic endurance race, Felipe Nasr would start the number 7 Porsche from 3rd on the grid, and Matt Campbell would start the number 6 Porsche from 10th overall. The number 7 Porsche almost got into 2nd at the start, ahead of Nick Yololi in the number 93 Acura, but the 7 would still maintain 3rd, behind the number 24 BMW which started on pole, and that number 93 Acura. Early on, it was BMW M Team RLL dominating this event, with Dries Vanthoor behind the wheel in the number 24 BMW. The team was remaining calm and collected during the daytime hours on Saturday, but it was clear that the strategy was working really well for Porsche Penske as we approached the nighttime hours, and the two factory 963s soon moved towards the front. However, if Porsche were to win this race, their chances were definitely going to be more difficult compared to the year before, because at this stage in the race, the other 3 manufacturers that still had GTP entries running all had at least one car in the fight for the overall win. Porsche Penske's main competition heading into the night came from the number 24 BMW, technically all 3 Cadillacs, and the number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura. On the restart with 19.5 hours remaining, Laurens Vanthoor led in the number 7 Porsche as green flags were waved, but the Belgian racer was soon passed by Porsche's rivaling car from last year, the number 31 Whelen Cadillac from Action Express Racing, as Felipe Drugovich took over the lead in the V-Series R. Soon, Vanthoor's WEC teammate Kevin Estre swapped the 2 factory cars around, with the number 6 Porsche moving into 2nd ahead of the 7. But instead of the Cadillac ahead, Porsche Penske needed to worry about the Cadillac behind, which was the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing entry with Kamui Kobayashi behind the wheel, and he was flying up the order from 9th place, which was turning out to be a brilliant stint from the Japanese driver. With Kobayashi continuing to move up the order, Porsche temporarily took back the lead with the number 6 car, as Estre put Drugovich down to 2nd. Yet again though, Cadillac took back the lead, with Kobayashi making a brilliant move around the traffic to get ahead of the Porsche and move up into 1st. As the nighttime hours progressed, Porsche's 963s remained consistent on pace, as they had done the year before, but the factory Penske entries hadn't taken back the lead of the race yet, following Kobayashi's impressive stint, and up at the front, the lead changed hands multiple times between the 2 Cadillac teams and the number 24 BMW with Raffaele Marciello behind the wheel at the time. Drama soon struck though for one of the GTP entries, as the number 40 WTR Cadillac spun with Louis Delatraz behind the wheel, which eventually caused a multi-car crash and ended the Chrome Cadillac's chances at taking overall victory. It was definitely a shame for Wayne Taylor Racing, who had a car in the fight for the win, as proven by Kobayashi's stint, and unfortunately for Cadillac, more drama would follow later on, as the number 31 Whelen Cadillac from Action Express Racing would crash on the banking with Frederick Vesti behind the wheel. But this was no fault of his, as it was a mechanical issue that forced the V-Series R into the wall. Thankfully, the driver was okay, and the number 31 Cadillac wasn't completely out of the race, as it would return to the track after a trip to the garage later on, but the American brand's chances at taking the win became slim. Acura soon took over the lead with Colin Braun behind the wheel of the number 60 car, but at this point the Porsches were flying, with the best pace and reliability out of all the GTP entries, and eventually Matt Campbell took back the lead in the number 6 Porsche from Acura and Colin Braun. However though, during the nighttime hours there was an unfortunate issue for one of the 963s, as the number 5 Mustang Sampling Proton Competition Porsche was forced into the garage and eventually retired due to a suspension issue. But to be fair, there were a lot of suspension issues going on during the race, and it may have not been a problem instigated by the 963 itself. As the daytime hours returned on Sunday, January 26th, Porsche Penske looked formidable, as the two cars were leading the majority of laps. At this stage, it really became clear that there were 4 cars in the fight for the overall win, and besides the 2 factory 963s, this included the number 60 Meyer-Shank Racing Acura and the number 24 Rahal Letterman Lanigan BMW, which continued to stay on the same lap as the Penske 963s, and both cars even led on multiple occasions. With 5 hours to go, Porsche Penske led 1-2 with the number 6 car ahead of the 7, and Porsche pretty much stayed in the top 3 positions all the way to the end of the race. BMW, however, were continuing to show that they had a shot at taking the win. On 2 major occasions, the number 24 BMW took back the lead of this race. The first was when Kevin Magnussen was behind the wheel, as the former F1 driver was chasing down his first Rolex watch, and he eventually took the lead. But soon after, the M-Hybrid V8 was passed for first by Mathieu Jaminet during an intense battle, as the Frenchman moved ahead in the number 6 Porsche at the International Horseshoe Corner. When it came to the team of the number 7 car, Porsche Penske decided to swap drivers for the last time, with Nick Tandy handing things over to Felipe Nasr for the final stint. And remember, the Brazilian was the driver that Porsche put in the car last year, and defended the lead from Blomqvist in the Cadillac at the time, during that epic battle in the 2024 event. And so for 2025, the team were once again putting their faith in Nasr to get the job done once again. With just under 2 hours remaining following another restart, Nasr would lead the field to green in the number 7 car, but the Porsche driver would have to defend the lead with everything he had, because pole sitter Dries Vanthoor in the number 24 BMW was creating an intense fight for the overall win, as he looked to take BMW back to the top step at Daytona for the first time since 1976. Later on though, things got better for Porsche, because while Nasr was leading, Estra got ahead of the number 24 BMW to put the second 963 into second place, and when the GTP pit stops came around again, the lead changed hands again. The number 6 car pit after the number 7, and as Estra handed things off to Matt Campbell for the final driver stint of the number 6 car, that entry was able to maintain the lead of this race, while Nasr's number 7 car dropped to 3rd, behind the sister car and that BMW. After a small off-track moment for the number 24 car while Dries Vanthoor was trying to take back the lead, the number 6 Porsche was actually able to grow the gap. But then, things changed after the number 45 GTD Lamborghini from Wayne Taylor Racing stopped on track and brought out the final caution period of the day. This bunched up the field once again, and when the green flags came out for the final time at Daytona, it was Matt Campbell that led the field to green, and Nasr was able to get ahead in the Porsche of Vanthoor, who went wide in the BMW. There was then further good news for Porsche, which subsequently was bad news for BMW, as Vanthoor's car had to come into the pit lane with bodywork impacting the drivability of that M-Hybrid V8, which put BMW completely out of contention for the win. Up at the front, Porsche's only opposition came from an arch nemesis, and one of the most talented drivers in the GTP field, Tom Blomqvist, who was flying aboard that number 60 Acura, and looking to take Meyer-Shank Racing back to the top at Daytona. Soon these two Porsches started to battle for the overall victory, and remember, they're on the same team, as Felipe Nasr eventually got past his former teammate Matt Campbell to take the lead in the number 7 car. and with Nasr slowly growing the gap, Campbell defended as long as he could against that Acura, but eventually Blomqvist got passed into second, with just 4 minutes remaining of this 24-hour endurance race. And just like that, we had a pretty similar situation to what happened last year. Blomqvist chasing down Nasr for the win in the closing laps, just like in 2024. But ultimately, just like before, Nasr proved why Porsche Penske put their faith in him to take the car to the checkered flag, as Nasr crossed the line first and defended against Blomqvist once again to allow Porsche Penske Motorsport to win back-to-back at Daytona. And it also gave Porsche their 20th overall win at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and the first time that they have ever done that in any motorsport endurance race. The Porsche 963 was an absolute beast during the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and arguably had an even more competitive performance than the year before. Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, and Lawrence Vanthoor would claim the overall win in the number 7 Porsche, which would also allow Tandy to become the first driver in history to win all major 24-hour endurance races, which included Le Mans, Daytona, Nürburgring, and Spa. It's quite the story on how Porsche Penske achieved victory once again at Daytona. But I gotta say, Nasr and Porsche finishing ahead of Blomqvist and Acura may have not been possible if it wasn't for the defense from last year's winner Matty Campbell, as clearly the defense from the number 6 Porsche was a major factor as to why the German manufacturer became victorious, and it just proves that teamwork is truly dream work. So that's how Porsche Penske Motorsport took victory again at Daytona during the 2025 Rolex 24 event. So what did you think about Porsche achieving victory number 20? Well, make sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like endurance racing, definitely subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I'm releasing videos on a weekly basis regarding the WEC, IMSA, Intercontinental GT, and much more. To watch more content now, check out these suggested videos I've put on screen. For now though, that's all from me. Thanks for watching.